Do you have what it takes to write a best-selling book? Hi, I'm Jeshua, and this is Miko. We at Deep Dive Publishers help aspiring authors pen, publish, and promote a best-selling, self-published book. Now, that title might sound a little confrontational, perhaps, and that's because it is a little confrontational. You see, I'd like to bring your attention to a multiple-time New York Times best-selling author, and a man who's brought at least one business to multiple billions of dollars. I cannot remember the guy's name, so it should be on screen right now, and I can't check because my notes are in the other room, and I have a cat right now. So, this guy has a very interesting little story that I would like to present to everybody today. First, you might be wondering, why am I mentioning a multi-billion dollar corporation builder? Well, one, again, he is a New York Times bestseller as well, and he was not born to money. In fact, his family wasn't doing incredible. They weren't starving by any means, but they weren't doing the best they could. His father was physically abusive. One of his teachers got him up in the middle of class and would call him stupid to his face in front of everyone. So naturally, this guy had a very bad self-esteem. He was going off into the wrong direction. By the time he was 19, he was in trouble with the law already, and it was looking like he was going to go nowhere in life. And then he found his first mentor at 19. And his mentor asked him, first, what do you want to do with your life? And he had him write down the things that he would like to have done with his life, by the time he dies, or however the questions were phrased. And then he had him go off, write those down, come back later, and after reading through the questions, he asked him a very important question, and I would like to ask you a similar one today. Are you interested in writing a book, or are you committed? Now, you might have the same question he did about that. What's the difference? Well, if you're interested in writing a book, you will always have excuses. There will always be something that gets in the way of you actually getting it done. Be it you're too tired, or the kids had something, and so that allocated time you gave yourself came and went, and so therefore you can't write today. Or you don't have a scheduled time at all, and you do it when you feel like it, and funny enough, you almost never feel like writing. If you're committed, however, you will find the time, and you will put in the effort to make it happen. So, as I've already asked, are you interested in writing a book and making it a bestseller, or are you committed? Because if you're interested, writing is probably just a hobby for you, and it will probably never go anywhere. And that's fine. You don't have to become a best-selling author to achieve a fulfilling life. That's fine. So, if that's not what you want with your life, if you are not committed to make this happen, feel free to turn off the video. This video is probably not for you. But if you are committed, if you know that you have to do this, maybe it's just one book, or maybe you want to become a professional author. Either way, if you are committed to this book, even if you aren't fully clear on the book itself, but you have the ideas and you're committed to making it happen, then this video is for you. And I'm going to give you some tools to try and ensure that will happen for you. Writing a book is hard. It is really hard. I know some very smart people who have freely said to me they have zero interest in even trying to write a book, because there's a lot of effort that goes into it. There's a lot of hours, there's a lot of grind that takes a long time before there's any fruition. If you're a new author, there may not be any fruition at all for that first, second, third, seventh book. Most authors do not see any amount of success until their 10th book. Now, if you write a book a year, that means if you started writing at 25, you won't see major success until you're 35 years old. That is some serious commitment there, because it's very likely, unless you're a Joe Abercrombie, that first book isn't going to be very good. And even if it is alright, you don't have a platform, you don't have rabid fans who want your next book or even the first book. So you have to be okay with the fact that this first book probably isn't going to do well. That's something that it took me a very long time to have sink in for myself. I wanted to make my debut novel perfect. It had to be exactly what I wanted. There could be no flaws at all. It was just amazing, mind-blowing story. I hope that's what ends up happening. But I spent 2 drafts before the current draft that I'm working on now trying to do that. And then when I finished my first draft, I looked at it. It wasn't good enough. And so I still have it, but I basically just threw it away and started over. Page 1, chapter 1. Right. End of draft. Okay, I've finished the book a second time. Not good enough. Throw it out. Okay, starting over. I am working on my first draft of my 3rd iteration of the same book. Now, that is far from optimal. You do not want to mirror that. But at the same time, I feel that I've learned quite a bit, because I did sit down and actually get the writing done. And since I'm working on a completely new draft, it is sort of like I've written 2 books previously. I've learned a lot about myself as a writer. I've hopefully found my voice by now. There are a lot of things that worked and didn't work, and I have all these different ideas that I can weave better, hopefully, during this current iteration. And then I've also given myself the rule that this is more or less the final product. If there are plot holes, I'll fix them. If there are bad sections that could just be improved, I'll gut those and fix them, but I'm not allowing myself to throw away entire acts anymore or entire drafts. This is it. And so the lesson in that is perfection is impossible, especially if you're a new writer. I've come to accept for myself the only way that I could make this book any better than I can make it right now is having written more books before this one, but this is my first book. So, it's as good as it's going to be. If it ends up being amazing, awesome. Those previous drafts were worth it, and I learned a lot, and it gave me more time to do research on the things that I'm writing about, and then I finally come out with a good product. If it turns out that people hate it and it's just bad, I hope that's not what happens, but it's entirely possible that's what'll happen. Then my debut novel was not very good, and hopefully the next one will be better. I've had to accept that for myself. A lot of you don't want to hear this right now, and it may not sink in yet. I've heard this information of if you get stuck, just trunk it. I had a previous project that I had to just trunk after a few years of working on it, so technically this is my second project, but I never got through a full draft of that book. It was very much a Stephen King The Stand situation, where it's just, this is beyond my ability as a writer right now. So that's also something that you might come across. If you've been working on the same book for a long time and you're not making any progress and you just keep changing things and tweaking things, You either need to just say, enough is enough, what I have has to be what I put out there, or you need to try and accept and sit with it, meditate on it, decide to trunk it. That does not mean you're throwing it away and abandoning the project. That first project is still sitting there deep in my heart, and I do hope to one day get around to doing that series as well. But you might have to accept that it's not time for that project. You might have some epic project that it's just a little beyond your skills right now. Try something a bit simpler. It doesn't have to be too simple. That was the thing that when people were giving me the advice of dumb it down, make it simpler, put out something, that you can actually write, I didn't like that because I'm a person who likes the First Law series, who likes A Song of Ice and Fire, Dune. I like complex stories. So my first book is complex, but instead of having 5 POV characters from multiple different governments, I have 2 POV characters in this first book that will be my debut, hopefully. So still complicated, still doing things, still stretching myself. I've had to do a lot of research because that's, again, another thing. You don't have to write what you know. The internet is a thing. You can learn about stuff you don't know so that you then know it so you can write it. The advice of write what you know is, I see where it comes from. It's coming from a good place of don't be ignorant, don't spread misinformation about stuff that you have no idea what you're talking about. But again, you can research things. Now, I can understand from a nonfiction perspective, if you're writing nonfiction of some form, then yes, it is probably better that you write stuff that you know about. Fiction is a different thing. It's a different animal entirely. There's a lot of different mechanisms going on there. So, if you've been hesitant to write that book because you don't know every single little detail that you have to know before you start writing, don't worry about it. Start writing. I have found a lot of the best stuff that I've found, the most valuable resources that I've been using. In fact, this book right here is a translation of essentially it's like a ninja Bible, really shinobi no mono, because ninja is a modern word. The traditional word was shinobi, and I only figured out that I wanted to heavily include historically accurate shinobi aspects in my book after the first draft. So that first book that I wrote had almost none of this in here, and I'm much more pleased with what I have now because I read this as well as a few other resources around that topic. So, don't be afraid to stretch yourself. Now, for the actual process of writing itself, there are some things that definitely need to happen. First off, the writing needs to really get done. You need to find some form of schedule. You cannot, and I will emphasize this as heavily as I possibly can, you cannot wait until you want to write before you start writing. And even if you're already been writing, you still cannot wait until you want to write to continue the writing. Because if you wait for the motivation to happen, you'll never get it done. Because motivation is a very fickle thing. You cannot control motivation. You can control, however, discipline, and even discipline, as David Goggins says, is not enough. First, you need focus. You need a clear mind. You need to know what you want to pursue, and then you can build the dedication around your focus. So, you need to set out and make sure that in your schedule, if you have a calendar, a personal calendar, or even a business calendar, you have it there. You know, all right, every morning at 9 a.m., I'm going to write for 90 minutes. Or if that's not doable, you can go the opposite direction. After the kids are asleep, I'm going to stay up for 90 extra minutes and work on my book. Or if, again, you can't manage it every day because there's busy schedules, being too tired to write is a legitimate excuse as long as the writing is still actually happening. You might have to set it so on Saturday or Sunday, you have a block of 3, 5, 7 hours where you're just writing. And actually writing the whole time. Not just, oh, this is my writing block. I'm sitting here for maybe 30 minutes. Oh, hey, the phone went off. Let me check that. Oh, yeah, my friend or my sister or whatever is doing this thing later in the week. Let me text them and chat with them about that thing and figure out our plans later this week. Oh, there went an hour of your allocated time. One of the worst killers of any type of productivity, be it writing or any other work or even exercise, is the phone. Put the phone in the other room, please. Put it away or silence it if you have the discipline to not pick it up yourself. If you find that you reactionary just check it and pick it up and look at it regularly, turn it off, put it in another room. Lock it in your car if you really cannot get the phone off of your mind. You need to sit down, preferably, again, if you have a lot of things on your computer that you also reflexively check, like social media and things. Get away from that. Get away from that. You need to turn off the internet, potentially. Just disable Wi-Fi or unplug the Ethernet cable if you use Ethernet, and put the work in when you're there. Be focus on the work when you're working. That's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make. They have it scheduled and then they sit there and they don't actually do it. Or what they do is crap because they're distracted. They're worrying about other things, they're thinking about other things, they're playing with the phone, and they're not actually getting the work done. The biggest difference between the people that actually get it done and those who don't are they sit there and do it. You get up and you do it. It is such a simple concept, but it's so hard to do. And I know that from personal experience. I have struggled quite a bit with keeping the dedication to actually getting the writing done. Now, I've kind of gotten around to it. I tend to fluctuate. I will have great swaths of like a month or two where I'm really dedicated, and then another month goes by and I don't even look at what I have in my project file. So you need to sit back and you need to allocate the time and you need to actually put in the work to make it happen. And it's really that simple. It's simple but difficult. But if you have the dedication to get that book written and to get that book published and make it a bestseller, then you put in the work and you can do it. But you need to get the focus, and you need to put that focus toward dedication, because motivation is a joke. It's a lie. Waiting on motivation for you to do anything in life, not just writing, is a surefire way for you to never get anything you want done. It's how you stay sitting on the couch watching Netflix all day instead of getting on your desk and writing for 90 minutes before you go sit and watch Netflix. Like today, I did not want to record this video. I wanted to sit on my couch and play a video game. I'd worked all day. But I went to the gym, even though I wanted to not do it. I didn't want to do it, but I made myself hit the gym. I got here. I'm making myself shoot the video because it's what I gotta do. It's what needs to be done to get the things I want done in life. And so, really, if you are dedicated for one thing, you can channel that dedication into a lot of other stuff. Like, the lesson for today is, it goes so far beyond just writing. It is a lifestyle that I have personally only recently begun adopting, in no small part thanks to Dr. Andrew Huberman, with his morning routine that has kind of kickstarted my whole process into doing a lot of other stuff besides the writing. The writing I was doing okay with, but now I'm doing better with it. I'm being more consistent and other stuff. So, because Dr. Andrew Huberman has helped me out so much, I'm going to present to you the same information, and maybe if you are fed up with not getting stuff done, you will actually get some stuff done with it. So, first, he wakes up at 6:30 in the morning, which I know that sounds scary to a lot of you. It sounded scary to me too, but just set the alarm and just decide you're gonna do it. So, get up 6:30 in the morning, immediately get yourself some sunlight. Go outside, get your sunlight. Artificial lighting is not enough. You need actual sun because of the amount of photons in the sky is way bigger than just staring into a light bulb. On a sunny day, 5 minutes. On a cloudy day, 10 to 15 minutes. On a really cloudy day, up to 30 minutes. Right as soon as you wake up. Then, not doing this part, but he recommends hop right into a cold shower because that kickstarts your dopamine and gives you a better chance of being more driven throughout the day, because dopamine is not the reward chemical, it is the drive chemical. He has a lot of information on that stuff. If you want more, I might leave a link in the description for one of those because it's some fantastic stuff. And then, after those two things, he sits down and does 90 minutes of work. Whatever it is. For him, it might be, reading a research paper or whatnot. For me, it's writing. So I do that morning routine, and then usually by 7:30 in the morning, I'm already writing. By 9 a.m., I've already written for the day. For me, that's fantastic. I've never woken up this early before, and I'm being so much more productive. So, if you have productivity issues in anywhere in life, but especially for the writing, because that's what this channel is all about, consider doing that morning routine and see what happens. Put in the dedication. Actually do it. But remember, you have to be committed. It can't just be a cool idea. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave a comment. And go ahead and subscribe to be notified of future videos. It helps the channel and lets us know that we should continue making content like this.